going on. Hello, good evening, welcome. Sunday the 19th of July, and this is your private weekly interactive update with myself and brother Kevin. Hello there, Kev.
Good evening. How are we all? Hope everybody's well. I'm a little bit shady, to be truthful. Had a long night. Couldn't sleep for some reason.
There we go. Apologies, just catching up.
Right. I think I've got some echo.
That's gone in. That's done. So I've used a thumbnail there, the Deputy Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Steve House, and he's quoted saying some of the techniques used cause me great concern. They are not taught in police training. There seems to be, an upheaval there with the alleged handling of somebody that may or may not have been carrying a knife and how they was apprehended and detained, rather like in light of the Black Lives Matter and the deceased George there. So George of the House Floyd. So that's the comment from the Deputy Metropolitan Police Commissioner. So he's under Cressida Dick, the Steve House, and some of the techniques used caused him great concern. They are not taught in police training. So whichever way we cut that one, it looks like there's been echoes of maybe they were paid to do it. Maybe they're in a middle class Masonic outfit and they got paid a stupid amount of money to go out, and maybe it's a genuine just evilness, hatred of, who knows. But we know there's miscarriages of justice and Masonic threads there, and we know that there are false flags as well. So we have to just see what unravels on that one. But just opening up. Interesting that the BBC get hold of this. You see, the BBC are not to be trusted neither. I know many of us don't, but yeah, they suddenly get an exclusivity to come out with the Met ER. It's a bit of a flagship channel, isn't it? So it carries a heavy echo throughout the landmass, and these wizards of Oz. And yeah, their money, playing with lives, and lives like money, spending blood. What was it? Meanwhile, Rome gets drunk on the blood of innocents and saints, basically. So yeah, we're gonna have an update. You got anything you want to say, like kind of political, public, Boris, scientific officers, techniques, masks, concerns? Kev, you got anything you want to throw in?
I don't think we've got time for all of my concerns with the government, and I don't just mean Boris. Anybody involved in, when we say government, let's just say politics. They're all twats. What is going on? They're trying to bring in this masks next Friday. But by the way, if I could just say, the masks are a birthday gift from me to you all, as they're being released on my birthday. And then they're standing around putting out, there's no point, the masks aren't proved to be used. So this information that's coming out to us is ridiculous. Today I've seen the Co-op have put posts up in their stores saying basically it would be something along the lines of, it would be courteous if you wore a mask, but it is not mandatory. It's as simple as that. So they're going, if you wear a mask, absolutely fine. If you don't, absolutely fine, which is how it should be. But the messages coming from government at the moment are beyond mixed. It's a farce. I can't even listen to it anymore. I have to scroll past it. Oh, for fuck's sake, them idiots again. It's totally ridiculous. And now, if we're going to get onto the police side of things, then, and Antifa and BLM and all of the groups, there's not one individual one, but it's just getting ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Stamping of the feet. We want, and the violence and destruction is just ridiculous. That's not going to get anybody I can see it getting much tougher. Look what they've done in the States now. They've brought in the National Guard who are driving around and snatching people that they've identified off the streets. That's what it will come to. If that's what you want, it's for 11. So I think it's a total farce. The figures, all of a sudden, how many months down the line? Oh, we're gonna have a look at the figures that have been put out, how they've been counted. So they're just going to use the other lot. What were they? Whatever, PHE, Public Health England or whatever. They're just going to throw them under the bus now. When I bet you they've been under instructions to put the figures out. Now they go, it was them. Yeah, they're the ones that did it.
Figures,
anyway,
they can't count. They figure the figures. They double count the figures. They double count gloves to boost the stock. They absolutely can't be trusted to run a bath. Yeah, I feel what you're saying, Kev. Stevens drops in and says hello to us both. I just thought I'd put in there as well. He's in room.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Carry on.
I tell you.
Sorry to interrupt.
I know what this. Yeah, I just don't. Masks. They're not mandatory. They're saying masks are mandatory from the 24th, and then you've got shops putting up. They're not mandatory.
And you got the police saying we're not going to police it. You got the government saying police are going to do it.
How are they going to police it?
Yeah.
It's like Cressida Dick, perfect name for the person at the top. But so they're saying what they want us to do: put a policeman in every store. We're not going to, as I say, it's not law. So any idiot that does that to you is going to be in trouble because they can't enforce it.
Statutory,
It's
public, regulatory, by
it's
consent.
ridiculous.
It's by consent. We're not a police state. Grand Chaps the other morning again. Theresa May and subsequent others. The rule of law, the force of law. Oh, it could go. Yeah, you could get some trigger happy moments here from public to the public, the members of the public, the common fan out there. It could get messy really fast. Stabbings and God knows what are up. No, knife crime is up here, unfortunately, as well. So watch out there. Apparently, the youth are carrying more blades with them than they ever have before, and they're stabbing and going crazy on each other in public. Passers-by, the common law trust is crumbling before our eyes because they don't carry that prerequisite of honour, integrity, respect, due diligence. It's lost, it's gone. So if that's eradicated, this is the beginning of the end times, where we not only forget who we are, what we are, when we are, but we don't have the common decency about us. When we say you are obligated to go out when you're outside, not to be a nutter and cause common law breaches. We're all obligated to respect and honour certain things, about, our human rights, our unalienable, inalienable, whichever way you cut it and see it, as we've come to see it. Those rights are irrefutable. They're unified. They unify us, if anything. So we call them uniform, universal, but the common law breaches there. What these little ones are doing, the young bloods, you only live once, and the cycles are, repeating. So it's it's a bad time. It really is in some respects. Across the paradigms that we look at, we look at law, but law is quite easily sprinkled across a lot of areas of man's life, not just strictly to the courtroom. So we operate in amongst many varied laws, but the laws that these have got on the street, the common law of obligations, the charge of breaching the public, the peace that you don't go around gobbing off and hurting people, because that's a breach of two common laws of peace and of assault, harm, injury. So these lot, they don't have that, and they're going around stabbing for what? For material bullshit as well. It's like this is quite breaking. We've got a lot of work to do to break the minds of these, but I've got off the back of that, I've got to introduce you to several publications before you can read. We've got a book to read called The Secret Doctrine by Madame Blavatsky. and she was alive in the 1800s, and she wrote a book in the 1888, right 6 years after the Bills of Exchange was printed, and this is before, I believe, the telephone and the internet and many mobile devices that we have, and digital aids. This lady is a modern day Nikola Tesla, Ed Leedskalid, Edgar Casey, a phenomenon of the mind, and she's written the rules of the universe and the existence, like matter and space, and the micro and the macrocosm, and she's blown my mind. But I haven't read the book yet. I've got the publication. We're just recently going through some uploads. If you look at the library, you'll see we've uploaded and updated a fantastic amount for you. And we're gonna, when we take away Jesus and we bring you, we bring others the lineage of the bibliotext and why they were written and who they were written by, and we print that, and we take away man's relationship with their own personal Jesus. We're going to replace it with something. And just imagine taking away Jesus. What could I look at replacing it with that would be satisfactory to Jesus? Okay, when you shatter the realm and say it's all bullshit, we've been lied to, and there is no blah blah blah. And do you know what we're going to do now? We're going to do this. Jesus comes away, and instead of Jesus, we're going to have you in reflection of God is no respecter of person. As me and Kev were talking one day, it's quite comparable to say we are made in the image of the Creator, of some space entity, it would seem, some sky traveller God, if all be truly known. So when we take away Jesus and we say, we have an alternative. The alternative is yourself, and your higher self. So it's quite a journey. And to back all of this up, you've got the Greg Bradens and the other philosophers out there, and the quantum side of it to back the science up. So when you go down this journey, you need as much material to help you direct others to understand where we're coming from. And there's a book or four that you need to pre-arm yourself with. You need a I don't know what you'd call it, I forget the word, but you need a requisite, a pre-functional memory of what you're doing when you go and do this. So she sets you up in the workings of these proems, like a poem but with an R, a proem, like Prussia, and certain other things I found. I had to double check the words off, but proem, and she builds you up to the mental image of what you need to keep in your head as you are going through the exploratory. And I will tell you now, it's based on, all I'm finding is the Hermetica rewritten 1800s. It was after many Egyptian, obviously, the lineages of the history. So she's picked up on an amazing amount of Indian, Chinese, and things that areas, cultures, wisdom that I wouldn't imagine someone in, I think Eastern Europe, given by the name Madame Blavatsky, did I say? Yeah, Blavatsky, I forget now. And Blavatsky, yeah, that's her. And she's done well to get all of this together. And I will just cut to the chase and say what I found. If you want those here now and on the replay, the Hermetica has got an amazing amount of resilience in all of the book's teachings, and the comparables to, I will argue that the Roman Bible has got connotations of Confucius in there, and it has also got the Magi, and the Magi comes from the 6000 BC, not from, but it was used and referenced then as well. Magic, Magi, magic, Zoroaster, Ahura Master, Zathora, is it ism, and Zoroastrianism, or Zoroastra, it was called a different name as well as Zoroastrianism, Ahura Master, 6000 BC, Magi, used Magi in the nativity of the following of the star, Jesus, frankincense, gold and myrrh, etc. A star, a guiding star, is somebody, an object, a thing you want to travel with, like Kev was pointing out with Christopher Hitchens and the translations of words, getting them wrong, has led mankind astray. So when we decode this book and the lineages and the families and the bloods and all of this, and we strip away Jesus, we don't want a mass riot and, oh no, there is no religion, we can do what the shit we want. No, we're going to in fact put man in place of Jesus there, and then we're going to go down this road of which is called the secret doctrine. These ones and threes and things that I say when Santos has said about syncretism and synchronicity, the functionality of the faculty of prayer and mentalization, mind and ment, and the depression and anxiety, it's all going to bond together as one. And it comes through the actual sonic words, that the Latin and the, you know, like the way your church is built, and it has that echoey of the and it will all resonate round, and you know, what is it, the Albert Hall and the Arts and that, how they're all built for the resonant, I forget the phonics and the sonics of the building itself. The Sydney Opera House has got a weird shape, look, hasn't it? There you go, and it's designed for capturing of the vocalization of phonic voices. So, yeah, there's a lot to do this year, and I'm very excited. And I'm going to go down a journey with you on YouTube with Kev. Mentalization, depression, health, money, finance, you know, and using these instruments here, and yeah, it's a nice bit of the other side of life where you can argue it doesn't exist, and you can carry on as you are, or you could explore if you've got an open mind. And what you'll find is yourself on the other side. You know, ecclesiastical deed poll I've posted. We're going to talk about that, and you know, I've got questions coming off YouTube as well, saying we've got questions, should I say, about what's happening with the property. You know, your testamentary, cess decay, evidence of life. You know, and all these questions we're getting, different questions from different people at different level, wanting to know canons, UCC. You know, we've got loads here, all exploding at once, and it's going to be a fun journey. You know, what is an ecclesiastical deed poll? I've posted you all the information you need. I've been very busy in the forums and the canons and the church stuff and the UCC, and some of it you'll have to read where I've put on the forums and the posts. We don't necessarily support or endorse this information, but we need to compare and contrast. And I see that we're busy with regards to the trusts, technology, and what I'm doing with we found Franco Collins, the Pactus de Singularis Callium is we've got a lot of mixed source. You have to appreciate how much we have to filter, don't we, Kev? It's like panning for gold, this game, and it's a lot of information coming, and if you just took it all on face value, prima facie, then you'd end up in hot water later down the line. So we are having to, you know, in the news in itself, Facebook, YouTube, emails, posts. It looks good on the face of it, but when we investigate and dig, and that's the beauty of discovery, you know, as you all know, you can find some golden nuggets, or you can find out you've perhaps been led down a path.
You end up with the sweet corn from the shit, is what Dave's saying.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. We'll catch up again this week about all of the posts, and you know, if you're not willing to learn, nobody can help you, and if you are determined to learn, then nobody can stop you. So that's all true in itself. As far as you wanna reply, but you know, we've got a lot to talk about with the trust technology, because you're all going to learn now. I think it's about time, and you're ready to say that trusts aren't just available for protection of property and assets and information. We'll say not information, but intellectual property. It will actually, like what I put on the council tax text there, allow you to transfer liabilities via, you know, this trust, via assignment. So where we've got to catch up, where we've got to look at the equitable side of you know, how we get the objects in and assets, and what we use as an asset to discharge. So to help you out, you will need to know that the equitable asset, the signature, and the equitable instrument, the birth certificate, and we can prove that the birth certificate is a bonded financial instrument, and it looks highly likely that it is traded, and as we've come to understand it, and not just a bit of paper. So with that instrument and that asset, you would have to form a trust and put that equitable asset. Trusts are built, and we've showed you, to protect assets and to put assets in. But if you've got an equitable asset, a financial asset, which is a signature, you can put that asset into a trust. And we need to look at, we've talked about restricting the judge's discretion and so forth. And as long as you can prove you've got a valid trust and that there is an alignment there, I've got some documents to look at with you and use the equitable assets, to look at discharging any, not just council tax liabilities, but, discharge liabilities. So that's something that you may not have even seen coming, that tendering negotiable instruments, and you've got 72 hours. This 72 hours where they say with the PCNs and contracts, you've got 72 hours to decline your contract. That's governed in the bills of exchange. Instruments and contracts and stuff are given 3 days, 72 hours to do it, and it's called a notary protest. This is kind of termed under. So if you want further information, look at the notary protest and look at the bills of exchange, and this is to do with like contracts and agreements. So a PCN is an offer to contract, you see. When I took it back to the council and says I don't agree to contracts, he says, oh, that's not issued by us. So I went, what do you mean? I'm round here, you're round here, the man's round here, the ticket's coming back to round here. Yeah, but the man lives in East whatever and you're in whatever. I'm like, well, he shouldn't be issuing tickets if he's not supposed to be. If he's not from round here and he gives out tickets from, here, but he's from registered somewhere other city, and then I object to his ticket, you mean I have to go to that city where he's from, not the city where I'm in, and he's issued a ticket? What kind of lunacy is this? I tell you now, I give you this ticket, I don't consent, no thank you, it's on the channel, I'm off. And I left it on that table, so I did actually try to execute the 72 hours rule there, and if you needed to back it up, you protest, you kindly and respectfully decline the offer to contract, and it's written in the Bills of Exchange 1882 with regards to tendering of a negotiable instrument and under contract law. So it all ties in like that, do you get me?
I get you.
Legal requirements and legal agreements and contracts, and that's kind of an offer to contract, so you pull it in, yeah. But to build a trust with a signature in, and remember the rules of trust in their world, these are their rules, but one doesn't need to know if they're in a trust to be in a trust. And when you assign a trustee, when we tell you that you've signed over your horsey, your car, that was yours when you bought it off John next door for cash, and you filled out the V5 and you sign it over and you go, I will be the trustee instead of being the settlor and the grantor, you go to trustee position, and we tell you that trustee only has legal possessory title. They don't have the allodial fee simple absolute king position now. They've got the shitty end of the stick deal. They're legally responsible, like with the children, the birth certificate's the bigger issue, not the car. But yeah, so when you assign that trustee in office, the equitable asset, the signature, it's not fraud if he uses it, because if the signature's in a trust as an asset and you assign a trustee access to the asset, and the asset is to discharge, and his job is to discharge, he's allowed access to that property, isn't he? But he doesn't own that property because he's only the trustee, so he's not committing fraud. So we're going to have to, this is looking beautiful, if the TDA and the road to Zion, for want of a better word, we're not Zionists, but in a Rastafari, so to speak, the road to paradise has got a gate and a padlock on it and some kind of quantum code, then we have got backups and other pathways to work around that padlock and still get to the end goal. Legal, lawful, non-perplexing but slightly technical. If you can bear with me, you would have to look at the types of trust that we've brought to you and that there are out there that they've brought to us, that we've brought to you, like discretionary and bear and testamentary, and there's many, resulting and express, and there's too many to list now, but a certain type of trust would be set up there. We will enhance upon that. So tort law is something we're going to expand upon with the quantum. But if a guilty act is not required in criminal law. If a criminal does a criminal act, if a person does a criminal act, he will be found guilty. The act is not guilty unless the mind is guilty, and the guilty mind and guilty act are the same thing. And they've got some Latin for you there. I'd like you to go in about, but this Latin and the law and the way that they've worded it and done it is not funny, because when you get into the Egyptian and the Indian and the Chinese cultures and philosophies of life and the natural divine unified fields, the quanta is the unified field. You got the uniform commercial code, you got the uniform officers, and you got a universe that we're in. And it's incredible the laws that are out there that I was speaking to Kev about, that we can prove, that can stand under scientific peer-reviewed articulate critique and intellect, and then we can show you the methodology that's is going to come, the car bar, like the car being cow, the bar being bull, very simple, K-A-B-A, and then if you put car and bar together, and they are cow and bull, you put cow bull together, you've got cow bull, a cabal, a cabal, a cabal, a kaba, and a shabba at the end of the kaba. So it is the words that lead us on these these findings of ways and teachers. I thought I'd got to know all of the teachers. This Blavatsky has come to kick me in the pineal gland with a crystal boot. I tell you, that's what she's done. I don't know what it was I was searching for, but it led me into my files of the synthesis of science, religion and philosophy. It's not strictly law, it's not strictly something what you'd expect a self-scholar of English law and admiralty and maritime and common law, but it is common, because this shit is to do with atoms, nucleuses, electrons, and your mind, and the ment, the guiltiness, govern, ment, payment. When we met Josh, he truly excited us in ways and showed us things of which the language has entrapped us and tricked us, and tricked us into saying things we shouldn't be saying. Cursive, narrative, monosyllabic, and etc. What he brought to us. So this with the quanta and where we're at is going to empower many, because science, religion, and philosophy is what that doctrine is of. But the mind is your law, your body, your realm. So there is a couple more teachers I'll go through, but any comments, Kev, on any of that you wanna?
Well, what can I say after that?
Things that you
very concise.
Add on, yeah. I don't know, nothing. Let's have a look at the room. What Steve is saying. Any questions? What we're doing in the room? Let's go and see. Steve.
Just trying to. Weird.
I like his comments on the crime commissioner there.
Yeah.
If you're receiving benefit, you will be forced to take the vax. No, well, yeah, because you're contracting with the state because you're taking money, but it depends how you take the money. You can reserve. See, that's just fear mongering. Kev, sorry, you were going to speak. Go.
Yeah, I was just going to say it. Absolute bollocks.
Yeah.
Absolute bollocks. I mean, yeah, you'll get forced if you're a fucking idiot. Quite frankly. You're protected, mate. You're protected under the Nuremberg. They can't force anything. I mean, what are they going to do to me? Oh, well, I mean, I'm unable to work, so what's their excuse going to be? Well, you have it in case you go back to the workforce. Well, that ain't happening, is it? But everybody's protected, mate. This fear-mongering is ridiculous from these people. There's nothing to worry about. Nobody can force anything on you.
No.
And the Nuremberg Code particularly holds doctors to account. So,
I have put some comments on about that and conditional acceptances, and we'll be all right. We'll see. We'll just go with the flow. But I don't want to waste precious time on stuff that isn't even going to happen, and if it does, it won't be a big problem for us because look, the shout going out to Avon and Somerset, is it? There's been a rave of 3,000
Oh
people,
yeah.
and the police have turned up to a junglist. I heard some of the clips, and it had some jungle beats going off and some fat basses, and the police have turned up to 3,000 souls in a field and let it carry on because it would have been unsafe, allegedly unsafe. I think that the people in that field outnumbered any amount of officers that could be drafted in the next bloody 3 days.
Absolutely.
They're not going to
Yeah.
get 3,000. They're not going to get 5,000 coppers to come in and deal with the party, are they? It's economically and financially not viable, so they let it happen. Shout going out to mans like that.
Having it, love it. Fair play to them. And no social distancing. Let's see how many of them aren't dead soon.
Yeah. There's been an outbreak of somewhere in a call centre that deals with contact tracing. It said on the news just before we come on that somewhere there's got an outbreak of infections, and they're a contract trace centre, and they're the ones that have got the infection. So that's going to scupper any progress, I dare say. Filled me with the ironic glee as I heard it. Yeah, we've got to look at secure party creditor as well. We've got to look at the Treasury and bonds and putting a bond with the Treasury, and why you would possibly look at putting a bond with the Treasury. I've posted some interactive chat in the UCC A for V explained law merchant public private credit code. It was in money debt credits intrinsic value endorsement A for V. So private bonds, look at that. An SPC, a secure party creditor, processors, Treasury. All right, that's Rishi Sunak, second Lord, and Boris. And you've got your private bonds. All right, these aren't bonds that you get at the post office now. Set-offs. These are for your bonds for set-offs and indemnity bonds, discharge bonds, private registered, bonded promissory notes. These are part of the SPC bond process. They're not public, they're not sold, and they're not exchanged or open on the market. All right, so
Dirty feckers.
yeah, look at that and look at the thread and what you've got capital and how to create capital, and what we'd look at looking for TDA access through the Home Office, through the offsetting process. Secure party creditor will use UCC, which then brings me up to we've got to look at the CUSIPs and EINs, International Committee on Uniform, because the Uniform Securities CUSIP numbers, they help brokers identify specific securities, but this could be just USA, but I'm likely to think banking and uniform, and the words here used are going to be international securities. The SEC commission deals with foreign, and to keep things unilateral in a foreign, non-lateral environment. They keep the banking system the same. They're international. And you've all must have seen an international bank account number and bits and bobs that come with them, and the different bolt-ons they get, so the identifiers, we'll call them. So yeah, I'm quite interested in, a bailers trust you need to look at, a U-bot separate from your bailers trust, a CUSIP number, and workarounds in this. The birth certificate.
There's lots of it.
Swapping a birth certificate for the Treasury Direct account access is what I'm looking at doing then. If you're wondering what's going on, you'd essentially, instead of getting rid of the birth certificate, you are going to get rid of it, but you're going to ask for alternative provisions and offset and discharge and transfer via endorsement with the Treasury and the Home Office. So it's not just we're getting rid of the civil public liabilities associated with the certificate and the name. and the numbers, but it would be you would become a diplomat. You'd become exempt from levy, tax, charges, fines, fees, civilly your civic duties. You'd be civilly dead. You'd be in the private, and you'd be helping the country lower its national debt by doing what we all should be doing. But the government aren't here, believe it or not, to tell us to come out and try and do this. That we've got to work this out ourselves. It's all so balmy. I'm so sorry for the ride of what it is and the mixed messages and the different
We can't
techniques.
do anything about the ride, I'm afraid.
No, it's not.
It's definitely out of our remit
No, we try.
at this time, anyway. No, I know Steve. Yeah, I know he's a Yank, but even so, you know, it's just ridiculous.
I wanted to read, pursuant to the Geneva Convention of 1930, a number of corporate governments, such as the United Kingdom, and all companies, corporations registered in the United Kingdom are indeed operating, it says illegally, but it would be unlawfully, but by their own rules it's illegal, due to the bankruptcy and insolvency. This is evidenced by the Gold Standard Act Amendment Bill, September 1931, suspended and subject Uniform Commercial Code UCC international law. When it's called international law, you see, that gives you the parameters there. Acts
Yeah.
of Parliament therefore are null and void of all decisions thereunder constitute dishonour. UCC 1308 and 3503. They're all registered under a bankrupt corporation known as Companies House, and it's they've got a lot of. When I talked about the international law, when I talked about Matt Hancock furnishing his friends' pockets and Dominic Cummings going up to sign that deal with GSK, and what these little shizens are up to, pettifogging shysters, as our man Chris calls folk, then yeah, you can see that we need to recognise that under international law, The Hague and Geneva so that's the Geneva Convention, under the covenants of the various human rights that we have, not law, but covenants is the key for the strength of the. It's not an act, it's not a bill, it's a covenant, and the Geneva is a part of a convention. The convention is kind of a church word, isn't it? You have a convent. Okay, the church has a convent, but a convention, so that's a contract with the church. So it's a Geneva church contract. It's the same as a human rights international levy, NATO, UN, human rights international parameters of The Hague or Geneva, thereabouts. So this is why we are going to make good progress, because nobody before us that I've seen either has relied heavily upon outside parameters of reinforcement and dexterity to say home ground's been poisoned and there's no real resources for us to use and there's no judiciary that will get justice in. So how do we remedy this? Well, there's only one way: going to look further afield and to see other countries that have got the same issue. That England's pissing China off at the minute. If you haven't noticed, we're pissing a lot of people off. They don't just piss us off on the ground. They're actually managing to piss people off, and other countries massively piss them off. Though, as much as they blunder and say on TV, I test my eyes by going for a drive. That's completely normal, isn't it? And admissions of crimes like that on national news, but they're pissing off. Who have they pissed off? Let me think. The China's pissed off with us. I know that much because of Huawei and us holding hands with America, and we've pissed somebody else off massively that I thought, oh, that's not really needed at this time. So politically, on the world stage as well as at home, we are not very well respected, I'd say, or liked. Russia, it might be Russia. We've said Russia tried to steal the Biodukes of Hazards. We're just out there again, we're just like a pissed up fucking youth from a council estate. Some escaped Jeremy Kyle show fucking viewer who's on his Tomazes and Stellas, thinks he's 10 men. Yeah, we're the international Devo. It's just embarrassing. It really is. China, Russia, world political stages, home front, officers and man coming together and these certificates in the grand scheme of things are really the last. These trusts and our communities are actually where the real value and diamonds are. If we're honest, the treasury's got shit on. It's our treasury. We like access to it if possible, but I just like to say to synchronise us all. It's about you community standards, I'd say, and safety first, and then after that, all of this stuff we do, and the protection and the argument is supplementary. But it does seem that our bumbling idiots that have pissed us off egregiously, through their actions there, are on an international level doing the same thing again. And I don't know how much more I can stomach this wireless coming out with stories of certain things that you just think, oh wow, Boris has said that the employees are responsible for the mask wearing, the chief scientific officer, the international communities. It's just, it's too much, even for us. It's often I just want to just run away and, shut down. I've been, cancelled the update yesterday because of fatigue, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, heavy days, and Saturday I just collapsed, and today I did Saturday's jobs, and I'm just as tired as I was yesterday really now, but Kev's a bit worn down, and there's a lot going on, there's business happening, and I just thought I'd encapsulate the feeling of it, and what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing it, and then the international critique. So we got England saying, well, we've also said to China, other than Huawei, we've also said, oh, your human rights are a bit in danger there. We're going to have to chelp up and tell you about them. And we've also pissed them off on that front, haven't we, by saying they're abusing human rights, are they not, allegedly?
They always have. Why the surprise?
This is it. It's the
I'm not being
sweatshop.
funny. I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but why the surprise?
Yeah.
China breached human rights. Yeah, I was hearing that 40 years ago. I'm sure my parents were hearing that 70 years ago. What's the what are you going to do about it?
So are the Arabs with women and so forth in certain ways, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
You see, it's just because. So then so we don't go and rescue all the world like America and England. We seem to pick on who we're going to for who's going to. It's like Rick and Bob where they spin the wheel of justice, and he's to see how fast the bastard turned and where the bastard would stop. The wheel of justice, Rick and Bob. But yeah, it's like England and America. There could be 10 countries needing aid, but only one or two may get some help.
The ones that will be beneficial to
Yeah.
the invading country. Oh, what have they got? Oh, we'll go and help them out, and we can steal all of that.
Central banks and humanitarian aid reliefs and mineral resources, geopolitical. Yeah, it's. How can a bank bail out a country? That's what I want to know. These rich Smithsonians and Steens and Bergs and etc. with banks bailing out countries. I'm like, oh well, okay. Because a bank can outgun a country, surely. Oh wow, that's just incredible, yeah. So we watch, and we are prepared, but.
I was just having a
every paper. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the room.
I've seen Stephen just said about the new abortion law in New Zealand, up to 40 weeks, Dave.
Yeah, I feel sick.
That's fucking mental. What's wrong with people? I had a weird one last night, Steve. I got into I was listening to a bit of music. No alcohol, nothing like that. Apart from a little bit of weed. But so I decided I better go to bed at 4:45 this morning. I was still awake at 4:45. Then I'm laying there going, don't open your eyes because you know it's light. But eventually I did. Anyway, for some reason, I don't know what the reason was, just couldn't sleep. So Anne went out running this morning. She came back. She got back about 9:30, 10, something like that. We there's a cafe down the road that not far away delivers breakfast. So I had some breakfast, and then I had breakfast, and then I woke up at just after 6 o'clock on the sofa. So I've turned nocturnal now. My body's decided I'm up all night. Absolutely couldn't work out. No particular reason why or anything. Can't nail it down.
Opa.
So, yeah, that's why I'm feeling a bit jaded. I feel like I've been sparring with somebody on my rib cage, and that's killing me for some reason. I know my lungs and that are bad, but yeah, so I had a weird up all night basically for no reason whatsoever. So yeah, I've thrown myself out. I just hope I don't keep waking up as the evening goes on, if you know what I mean. Otherwise I'll be it's going to be 5 o'clock in the morning again. But there you have it. So that's the only reason I'm feeling a bit. To be honest with you, last night, here's the truth about last night. We were both tired, but I was just texting Dave to say I'm not up for it. I was in a very weird headspace. I had been for not a couple of days, just in the evenings. Sort of, I don't know whether it was depression or whatever, just rearing its head a little bit, but very odd. But yeah, I was just texting, as I'm writing the text to Dave, he texted me and he was absolutely exhausted. So it was odd, we both weren't up for it last night. And then I had a really spooky night. I said, it'll be brilliant tonight. And then I ended up all night myself, so pain in the arse. So that's why I'm feeling a little jaded. You'd have to excuse me this evening. I'm a little bit vacant. It's a bit like it's still morning for me at the moment. I don't do mornings.
I will let you off, Kev. It's the summertime. I was saying biorhythms and bodies and clocks and moons and celestial objects, and we go through cycles. Everything that I've come to see is like a cycle, a cyclical cycle on an
Phi cycle.
Yeah, that's it. It is. It's all, we go through peaks and troughs and ups and downs and creatures of habit, and our bodies, they pick up. It's incredible, yeah, the language, the most powerful language I've found is the language of silence, the language of the unified field that we connect to and speak to, interact with, every second, hundreds, thousands of times a second. So all bets are off, yeah. We're going back to the drawing board again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm glad Steve's seems to be all good.
Well, he's a geezer, isn't he?
We're all managing, yeah, we're keeping our eye on the pulse. We're going to look at, a lot more of the instruments. Let me go to the resource library. What have we got to shout about in there, or to let you look at? One of the documents is 1,470 pages, so that's an advanced, it's an advanced one, and it would be the one that's called The Secret Doctrine, the Synthesis of Science, Religion and Philosophy. It's Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Yeah, masterwork on the Theosophy. Theo is God, covering the cosmic, planetary and human evolution, as well as science, religion and mythology. It's got 1,200 sources used. Look, back in the 1800s, though, this is what I'm saying. Originally published in 1888, Theosophical University Press version. So when you download that, all right, that's going to keep you busy for at least a year, but you can't understand that until you go through the other bits, and I'm going to guide you through. We're going to do this together, like the kind of the Thoth and the Enki, Thoth and Hermes, Horus, and the explosion of the other side of philosophy there. We've got the Tao Te Ching, which is the way of life. You've got 3 documents from China to look at. 2 are called Tao Te Ching, and one's called Lazoi Dao Jing. which is a Lao Zhao Tao Te Jing Ching. So you've got three to look at, which is ancient ways like the natural divine laws. But from Asia, we spend our life looking at white, male, pale, stale, Western, American, English, Canadian. I'm sick of it. I want to see some of the Hindu, the Assyrian, the Dead Sea, the Phoenician, the phonetic, the picture, the cuneiform. We do language, we do all of it. So we may as well look at all cultures, mystic, Confucius and Socrates, Greeks. It all is kind of separated, but it is linked, isn't it? And we may as well have a look. Those that are interested, it's there for you, as well as the rest of the stuff we've got anyway. It's a nice library. I'm quite happy with the content that we have and the variation. There's an indexing down the left, categories, tags to help you out there. If you ever just thinking, what should I look at? We've got some nice tags for you to have a look at. You click them and it'll bring every document up to do with, 160 trust and equity documents, but that's just loosely, out of the 322 that we've got total. So I'm quite happy. Yeah, it's a nice little resource.
Yes, quite impressive, really. Will it ever be finished? We hope it runs for generations.
Scrolls, yeah, we'll pass it down. Yanka will benefit to this, and then maybe her daughters and stuff. As it's in a trust, it will stay. And I'd like the library is like a scrolls when you. There's two sides to it: an educational one, and then an educational legal defence side. One's pure educational, as in a library, and one's educational, so you could look at notices and then take text from them and articulate them yourself and see what kind of answer or response you get to the contracts being offered second time around. So there's a pure academic route and then there's a academic response.
Steve, is that your response to how many pages it was? Fuck that.
It's like I say, it's each to their own. Everyone's at different levels and journeys. This one's a non-legal, non-lawful. It's a natural, positive. And this lady, I never heard of her, like Christopher Hitchens. Didn't know her from Adam or Eve. She Blavatsky. I don't know. I'm gonna research her, but she's like a female Tesla.
Madam. Yeah, Madam Blavatsky.
Yeah, that's who she is, brother. She's absolutely blown me away. What an absolute legend. I can't say. For 1888, it appears that in the 1900s to the 1950s, intelligences were rewound. Because if this is the style, and you know how they viewed ladies and the female in the 1800s and women's living rights and, etc. So for this lady to have done this, and to have brought out, I'm not saying it's right and it's going to create revelations. All it does is that, and I've got a bloke that's helping to explain this, and Greg's into it, and Kev and a few others. So it pulls in with the Taoism. When you look at those publications that have got TAO, and you'd look at it as if it would say Tao, it's actually Tao. Taoism, TAO is Tao, believe it or not, so it'd be the Tao Te Ching, to say it correctly. And when you look at all of these, the way that they've all got ideologies, theologies mixed up, it's just incredible, what others can take from it. But I will give you a little clue. If you look at the Hermetica and the Egypt stuff we've got in the library, the Thoth, Hermes, Horus, Enki, Anubis, Akhenaten, all of these, and you find the Hermetica, and you look at the publications on that alongside the Kabbalion, you will find that most every religion on the earth is based on sources with, mixed, like I said about the Magi from Zoroaster and bits about neighbour or something, Confucius, all being thrown into the New Testaments. The older purer religions have still got gleams of stories from before, and those stories can be traced back to the Hermetica, which would be 3000-ish roughly BC, and some of them have these stories of artifacts associated with them. These artifacts have been found to have immutable properties, and immutable is like a word in law, impugned, and I don't often see the im words in my. I like these words; they stand out, like impeded, implied, devilish words, and impugned can't be changed atomically. The structure's set, and nobody goes around unless you've got a special magic wand setting the structure atomically. Is it impugned? Yeah, and imputable. Impugned. I've got myself mixed up now, but
Impugned.
yeah, it can't be atomically changed because it's fixed. And that shit speaks volumes because man can't do that. We can't atomically fix anything. We can't. It's can't be broken. It can't be heated. It can't be smashed. It can't be changed. Like gold can be heated up, liquidized, bent, formed, made into rings, melted back down again. This just if it's a rock, it stays a rock. It can't be It can't be melted. It can't be reformed or chipped away or smashed or it's fixed. Yeah, atomically fixed. Some nice journeys. Yeah, we can go on. So I don't see any trouble. Any issues. We had some questions on the news feed about people wanting, supporters wanting to know about the certificate, Kevin, how to use that to get remedy. So we are able to say that if you are a supporter and you are in this domain, we use the person as an instrument, and it gives us quite a lot of remedy. The administrative remedy with regards to finances galore would be when we government, high levels of government, inform and go over to the private that way and swap the birth certificate for transfer discharge. I would imagine with the Home Secretary and the Treasury using not the bills of exchange but such things as UCC and accepted for value. I'd ask you, how does accepted for value get governed? It doesn't get governed under the bills of exchange. What is the regulatory mechanism and an enforcing body that governs and argues, the cases for A for V? What is value? Where is the remedy regulated, and who regulates it? And what it's not. I couldn't find it. I've never seen anybody on YouTube tell us, but it would be found in the sections of the Uniform Commercial Code. So the unified field is coming into play with the uniform code, and the unified field has come with the quantum science, and the uniform code has come with the quantum language. And I'm like, uniforms and quantums are the topics of the year, I'm afraid. Q stands for quantum.
Don't you get all excited about him again.
Q in his Nasara Jasara. Well,
Oh, yeah, of course he is. Yeah, because, all of a sudden, we're all good. As I say, brilliant. But it won't change anything. It'll all be relative. If everybody's got it, it's not worth as much. Everything around it will increase accordingly. So we won't be any better off. But just to think that these dark forces in the world are suddenly going to go, okay, we'll give it all back. Come on. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid my heart and my stomach tell me otherwise. And they've been pretty good to me all my life, so I tend to listen to them quite a lot. Initial reaction, I usually go on, I usually think, right, okay, clear the mind, think of the question, and then the first answer that comes, that's usually the one. Or your first response to it.
Yeah, bro, I agree.
$6 million, isn't it? So it'd be about if we're lucky, about $3.5 million in pounds, whatever they are. But as I say, if everybody's got it, what's it worth? It's, right, that 500 grand house is now a £2 million house. You know, that's so I don't see what the benefits are going to be. You're not going to be able to realise much with it because all the other markets around the fact that everybody's are going to react accordingly.
Yeah, we've got to watch the market, see what happens, intrinsic value and property, houses, recessions, jobs, bailouts, and what the tricks they're playing, repossessions. There's a lot, very turbulent activity in many sectors. Nothing's stable, is it? That's basically, it would be easier to name what's stable than what the issues are. It would be quicker to say the areas of stability reside in X, Y, and Z. The rest is FUBAR.
Yeah, like Steve just, he says the Nasara just our website wants money for the app. Well, that tells you something, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it still becomes. That's what I mean. I don't just thinking logically. I'm not trying to be fucking clever. I'm just thinking logically. If we've all got it, what's it worth? Everything's got to be relative.
Jasara should be where everybody comes clean, all cards are on the table, and we get our equity cards, and then we just transfer credits, and then the Shizens are kicked out of London, and we manage it in a different way. That would be Nasara Jasara in a real world paradigm, where we move the technology of money forward to where it should be, because these white pale stale male London autocrats and etc. have rescinded the technology of engines, money, and schools and certain things for at least 100 years. So what's happening now is the release of the internet and freedom of speech and human rights being enforced, and that is the collapse of the Commonwealth. Is that we're catching up really quick, and we're getting up to where we should be, and it's. This Nasara Jasara, it would be, if you just bear that in mind, money should then catch up to where it should be. And as we've discovered with the Geneva and the International and the Gold and the laws of 1931 and etc., and before and after subsequent other acts and passes of orders and bills, we can see the game. So the game is up, is exposed. So why would we give everybody 6 million quid and keep the same corrupt system? We wouldn't. We would shut the system down, remove the fraudulent Jewish, German, American, English, whichever they are, Swedish bankers that are at the top, and restart a new system that relied upon just credit, and would all be equal, and it would be done again, and it'd be a central computer instead of a central bank, and Red Dwarf had Holly, hey up Dave, alright Dave, and all that shit, you know what I mean? It'd be like that. And that's how we're going on here. Fucking 8 million, 6 million quid. It's just a hook. It's just a fishing exercise. It's a dirty little game, isn't it? Where they play with emotions and psyops as well, to be fair. A little bit of a psyop, and be careful who you trust. Trust is earned. People are that desperate and in that much fear and that panicky now with the pandemic. What does the pandemic do to them? Take them out of the pandemic and you got the panic, and that's exactly how it is. Fear, and I'm sure they're just Brewster's Millions it some days. Yeah, I dare go and do this and see if it works, see if anyone follows this one, and who can make the most craziest fucking themed idea up, and then they pay someone to go and do it, like them officers and that knee in England. Who knows what's gone on there, and who would be so stupid to recreate something like that. And if you did recreate something like that, then what is that? What message does that send out?
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear me.
We'll wrap up here, if that's alright, and then we'll get on tube and go and say hello to the public fan.
Okay, I might not last long on tube.
Yeah. And maybe we do tube tomorrow.
Yeah.
Could do tube
tomorrow. That. Do tube tomorrow, mate. Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that. I mean, yeah, if you want. I'll be honest with you.
Suits me, yeah.
I'm aware I'm not very sociable and I'm a bit subdued. So I'm sort of a bit aware of that. And to be honest with you, I keep suddenly going, fucking hell, I'm not even listening.
It's all right. You've done well.
Do you know what I mean?
You've done well, Kev. Nice one, bro. Nice one.
So yeah, I don't want to go over there. I'm just a little bit subdued for it tonight. It's I don't know why. I was up all night for some reason, people. I wish it was because I was having barrels of fun and copious amounts of things you're not meant to, but it wasn't. Not even a beer. Not even one beer. There's even 1.5 cans of pop and 3 coffees. That's what I had yesterday. What a weird night. But yes, it's just taken a bit of a toll on me today. I think it's my age.
Yeah, it's the time, the summer, the heat. You know, we've had a hot Friday, we had a hot Thursday, I think it was. Wednesday weren't too hot, but it was warm and humid, you know,
Yeah.
as well. And your diet, your mental state, sorting out depression. It's not, you don't have a straight ride sometimes. It is a peaks and troughs, and you take each day as it comes, don't you, so you get resolved and remedy and where you need to be there. So doing
Yeah, I
well.
mean,
You're doing well. Don't
I've
be
had a
hard on
few
yourself.
good weeks. No, I've had a few good weeks, probably more if I actually think about it. But time's a strange construct when you just do the same thing every day. If you see what I mean, sitting in here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I could say to you, last few weeks, and it could realistically be the last few months. But it's been pretty good. As I say, I've been sort of on top of it. I haven't really noticed any, the occasional niggle. But last couple of days, maybe it was something to do with the heat. As I say, even though the sun wasn't necessarily out all the time, it was quite oppressive, warm. Maybe that just... But yeah, just a couple of days. I think Friday and Saturday mostly. I think it was just in the evenings. Just this terrible blackness. So no absolute sort of reason why. That's the worst thing. Dave and I were discussing it. So there's nothing. I was even discussing it with Anne today.
Summer sadness always happens. Oh wow, I used to DJ that track. Summertime sadness. Oh wow, that's the app there. Stay positive, says Steve. Go on, sorry, bro.
Oh, I'm alright, mate. As I say, it's just a weird thing that it just comes out of nowhere for no reason. If I had something I was worrying about, or I could understand it, or if I'd had a sesh a few days ago, it is the downer after the sesh or whatever. But it's nothing like that. There's no reason. There's nothing going on that I'm concerned about, worried about. I haven't got anything to worry about particularly, really, apart from just general living. So yeah, it's just strange where it comes from. There's just no rhyme or reason for me to suddenly have that sort of reaction. That's the confusing part. It's just like, for want of a better term, my body's like, you're going to be depressed today. We don't know why, but it's happening.
You'll look after you. You'll look after yourself. You got your.
I know
lady
that.
there,
Yeah,
the
it's all good.
pooches. I'll look after you, brother.
So it's just weird that it comes out of nowhere. That's the bit that niggles me a bit. It's like, well, what's the reason for that? Everything's fine at home. Nothing's driving me mental. I mean, the staying in thing I've been used to for a lot of years. So this lockdown thing is nothing to me. It hasn't been any different for me. So I can't put it down to that. I'm certainly not worried about anything external.
Yeah.
I don't really have any threats anymore now that I have the knowledge I have. I'm not saying I have all of it, but the knowledge that I have at this time, nothing phases me. So I don't have any external crap really to worry about. The only thing I can think is, because it seems to happen every sort of few months recently, since I got over the worst of it, is maybe it's just an accumulation of being in. It's just, I don't get to sort of release much energy or anything very often. So maybe it's just an accumulation. Like I was saying today, same as with my pain. To a degree, I can ignore it. I can just put it at the back of my mind, and it's a bit like that with the depression. When I'm at this sort of much better stage with it, or much more controlled with it. But yeah, it's just weird. Just don't get it. Don't get. Oh, it's just suddenly. And even though it arrives, it's like just like somebody opening the door, your own door with the key, and just walking in. It's not like, oh right, I've got a bad thought. It's like an instant. Oh, it's weird. And I thought, what? Why am I getting? What am I gonna be up
Pollution in
about?
the air. We got the 5G interface. 5G. We got the pollution in the air. We got ions, and Steve saying there vibrations in the air.
Yeah.
Negativity, everyone is feeling it, so stay positive.
Did you watch that video I sent you, Dave?
Yeah, with the doorbell and the walking in high pitched.
What did you make of that?
There's some weird noise on the video, yeah.
I saw it. I saw Jeanette yesterday, the lady in the video.
Right.
I saw her yesterday, and I was talking to her about it. She said it was incredible, the noise hurting her ears. Dog was going mental. She said she's looking up all around because it's just coming from the sky. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well, you got the. I'd just like to finish with the fifth kind. The fifth.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to get that still.
And
they wanted money yesterday. I went paying for it.
There's Stephen Greer saying about the fifth Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. He's called, and he's not. I'm not a fan of his. I'm not promoting him, but I'm referencing what he said about the consciousness and the unified field, along with Greg Braden and others names that are brought to you that study this. But he's made a big film about alien contact, and he's got a patented technique called CE5 or something similar, where they contact and all project their mental faculty out to the universe and vector in various races of aliens, and they've frequently got on video and eyewitnesses to this interaction of orbs in the sky. So I'll leave it there. And on this video where he's telling you about his histories and what he's done in SETI and everything like this, and the Arecibo coming back and being put on a bloody crop circle with them. Oh my goodness, it's interesting if you like that kind of lore. So he's saying that in this unified field, when you have this language, it is just as you see it, as you hear it, it's one. Even though we speak different languages, it will translate, and telepathy is able to be done because and it goes into that, because an alien talking to a human without moving its lips in its head, like you've just said, it seemed to be coming out the sky, is what brought me onto this. So, with all that in place and the picture built, when he then says 9/11 and before and after, there's these 0 and 1 generators, and they happen to synchronize to doing zeros at the same time or ones at the same time, when if you look in a 12-year period, they'll generally do zeros and ones, 50% zeros, 50% ones in a 12-year period. This is like a quantum measurement of the paradigm we live in. What will certain things do? It's a way of measuring the environment for scientists. And before 9/11, after 9/11, they all synchronized into making the same, either 0 or 1 at the same time. But before, we didn't know anything happening, and then after, it was on the news, and then naturally the consciousness got affected that way, which then infected the, invisible unified field of I don't know how to explain it, but the energy of which connects us all. And he said they wanted to test this more. And so what they've done is they've done various experiments. The Russians have done, many people have done experiments. I won't tell you, I'll just tell you the one I want to tell you about for now. And they put a light that randomly flicks on in 4 corners of a room, and it will only be on once in one corner at any time, and it goes from any corner to any corner in a random pattern. But when they put a plant in there, and this is to demonstrate the language that the light and the plant can talk to the light, because they put the plant in there, and the plant used to will, using the unified field, they reckon the quantum level, the light to be over by the plant more times than the other three corners. And then the scientists obviously did the experiments without plants and with plants, and every room that had a plant in it, the light would hover above the plant more so than any of the other three corners. So even the plants can use this to talk to non-biological, you see, but the biological part is the electrical current and the magnetic electromagnetic field surrounding that LED random light, and the plant somehow connects through and breaches the programming of the random operator. So yeah, it's a truly unique, random thing to end on. But the languages and where we're at, and the vibrations and the research we've got to uncover, it's got some funky ass experiments behind it to make you go ooh. That's what we like.
Things that make you go ooh.
Yeah, that was a good little funky one, wasn't it? Who did that?
Yeah.
Ooh, 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 yeah.
Wasn't that?
Who was that?
Oh.
Groove is in no, right? D-Light, no. D-Light? Not D-Light.
Yeah, well, it was D-Light. Yeah, Groove is in the heart. Yeah.
But things that
Might
make
have
you
been
go,
them.
Nana Cherry. No, that wasn't it. I don't
Tennis
know.
Soul.
Things are making, you have to have a substitute for knowledge, but BBC does this and puts it out in 500 different languages. Lingo for your pingu. So yeah, we'll get off and we'll say thank you. All is well. We've got a library heaving, lots in the forums to discuss, and lots of new sciences coming, and then the A4V, SPC, and trust to discharge liabilities to look at alongside international treaty for these foreign corporations, foreign policy, foreign treaty, an international treaty for corporations. We got a lot already on the plate to look at. So, anything else from you to close down, Kev, or to say before we go?
Yeah. Well, just have a good week, everybody. Especially you, Steve, for joining us. Thanks, mate. Yeah, there's plenty coming. Plenty yet to explore. Going to be interesting. We were saying it's going to be the last year. We're running out of it rapidly, aren't we? Let's hope. Let's hope we can get this sorted out. But yeah, there's a lot to come. Yeah, languages, crazy.
Nice one, brother. Nice one, Steve. Yeah, as always, thank you for your time. And we will we'll look to move forward. We've got the second tier to come along with now. We've got a lot of language and instruments for you to look at. It's going to go quite fast in financial areas, personality, persona, things that you're already aware of, but we're going to go up a level. So you're going to come with us. We're not going to leave anybody behind. Those that want to, as I said about that quote about those that want to learn, you'll keep up to speed with us. We want to titanium plate some of these shields now, wings of steel into your shield. So yeah, I am very happy with where we're at and what we're doing, and the universe has let us know. And we're looking after each other, looking after Kev, he's looking after me. We're all a family by extension. So
we're all connected.
Yeah, I think now there are more minds. The 100th monkey principle is on its way, and they're on the cusp of a great many things. Possibilities are just there. It's not the end game, but it's going to be soon. It is pretty much close to doomsday o'clock, isn't it? Approaching.
Well, yeah, I don't like to be, to sort of push out those kind of feelings, but it is getting a bit. Let's get to the point where maybe you can't just ignore this forever.
There's a lot, yeah. There's a lot of consciousnesses, new ones, and vibrant ones, but there's also a lot of scammers out there and liars and cheats and whole lies and half truths. So just if it does look too good to be true, it generally still is too good to be true. So yeah, we'll just bear that in mind and look after each other. I'll be on the .com afternoons when I come back from the graft, and I'll give you updates. Yeah, maybe Kev and I again before the weekend. We'll see what's on the cards and how much free time we get. But yeah, I'll look at
Yeah,
the
it would
library.
be cool. We'll do something tomorrow night
Yeah, we're going
for the masses, and then yeah,
all right.
it's all good. Cheers, Steve. D. Have a good night. Thanks for dropping by. I'm sorry I'm a bit subdued. I say I keep trancing out here, so I think I just need to let the brain die and hopefully be in bed within the next 3 hours or so.
Yeah, man, it's the lunar flares. The lunar flares, solar flares, the lunar magnitude or the solar flares. But yeah, much love to you, Stephen D. Thank you, Kev. We'll say ciao for now then and see you next week, if not a bit sooner.
Bye all night. Much love. See you soon.